prophecies, enigmas, building up the people, tearing down stigmas, clothed with a purpose. When life tries to wear on me, pray and read the word, but I still go to therapy. No matter your past or what you've been through, this is a space, not judgmental. We got some things to get into. I got my mind in on my meds. No matter your past or what you've been through, this is a space, not judgmental. We got some things to get into. I got my mind in on my mental. Mind in my mental. Mind in my mental. Mind in my mental. Mind in my mental health. Mind in my mental. Mind in my mental. Mind in my mental health.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Minding My Mental Health. I am Tenitra Williams, your host for Minding My Mental Health. Thank you so much for joining me. If you have been watching me, you already know what I want you to do. I want you to hashtag live. Let me know where you're watching from, and also let me know which platform you're watching from. If you're watching from YouTube or Facebook, I would appreciate that. Spread this word, tag, share, like, comment, all those things so that we can get the people in here. You guys know I like to give a few minutes for people to jump on. So if you will do that, I would greatly, greatly appreciate it. If you're watching the replay, I know everybody is not available in the middle of the day. So if you're watching the replay, will you do me another favor and use, again, hashtag replay. And again, let me know where you are watching from. I am so honored to have our guest here today. Today we have Tori Paul. From Russellville, Arkansas. So again, thank you so much, Tori. Let me see here. Here we go. All right. So Tori's here. I have never met Tori before, right? And I usually don't have guests that I've never met, but I saw Tori go, I guess probably viral. I don't know if it was technically viral or not, but the video came across my feed. And it was her saying, hey, I just lost my job. And this is not an isolated event. She is a domestic violence advocate in the state of Arkansas, and 25 shelters were closed as of yesterday in the state of Arkansas due to not receiving federal funds. And guess what? This month is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. And so we're going to talk about not only her situation and what happened there, but we're going to talk about in a more global sense of, how we can help people. So again, please share, tag. This is a very important topic. I don't want us to miss these nuggets, these wonderful insights that Tori's going to bring us. So everybody, please welcome Tori Paul to the broadcast. Thank you so much, Tori. How are you today?
It's a rough day, but we're getting through.
Yeah, I bet. Tori, can you kind of just introduce yourself? Tell us again, kind of where you worked, what was your role, what got you into this advocacy space?
Well, my name is Tori Paul. I am an advocate at the River Valley Shelter in Russellville, Arkansas until tomorrow because, as we said, we've had to lay off a lot of staff due to funding cuts. And just to clarify from what you were saying earlier, 25 other shelters have had to lose staff. I don't know how many have shut down.
Okay. Thank you for clarifying.
At least one has. But the rest of them, I think, are going to be in a similar situation to how we are, where it is just going to be our manager and director trying to keep the shelter doors open as long as possible. That way we aren't losing these critical resources for survivors in our communities across the state. But it is going to mean a significant reduction in staff and who is available to help people, and potential closures depending on how long people are able to afford to stay open.
Okay, so there are shelters, and I think that you mentioned in the last video that I saw from you that your shelter was able to stay open, but with very, very limited staff, which is obviously going to impact
Yeah.
the services and all of that.
Yeah, things are going to radically change around here.
Yeah. Um, so with the shelter closing, what does that mean for the women who are currently there?
Mhm. Well, like I said, we aren't.
Or with it being, I guess, staff.
It means that there will not be someone here 24 hours a day. We will not have, very likely not have someone here on weekends. So it is going to limit their ability to kind of come and go as they please. It will limit their ability to get like timely resources and referrals because it's going to depend on who is here at the time. It's going to really limit how much support they have because I mean, we'll get into this later in like the mental health side of all of this, but domestic violence does really impact your mental health, and it's really hard, even once you're out of that situation, to just kind of process everything, and it can be really difficult, especially overnight for a lot of survivors. So, not having someone here overnight is going to be a real challenge for a lot of people who might be needing that support and that kind of emotional connection to be able to talk to someone and get that support and advocacy when they need it as opposed to whenever someone happens to be here.
Right. Can people still volunteer at the shelter, or is that even a thing?
Normally when we take volunteers, unless it's like an internship,
Mhm.
we usually have our volunteers either work on like a singular project or
Gotcha.
over at our thrift store. So we will take a lot of volunteers over at our thrift store, and I mean, we'll just kind of see where things go on if people are able to volunteer over at the shelter more. Because the thing is, it's like our job is incredibly difficult. It is a very emotionally taxing job, and a lot of people just like walking in off the street are not comfortable throwing themselves
Right.
into such an intense environment.
Right.
And especially if someone were to like volunteer on like our hotline, it's like there is a lot of training that goes into that to
Absolutely.
make sure that you are seeing if people qualify to stay here and being able to like de-escalate situations and
Mhm.
provide emotional support and advocacy in the right way and to know what all the resources and referrals are that's available. It's not something that most people can just like walk into.
Yeah. Well, what I guess the question is, what can people do at this point? We've heard it. People get angry, they get frustrated, and then they go, now what? What can we do to help with the situation with the shelters? And then I want to get, I guess, a little later into how
Yeah.
we can help when there's someone that we may know or who we've heard about who's a survivor.
Mhm. I mean, as far as like with the closures and the immediate crisis that is happening right now, what I've been telling people is kind of four different things. The first is spreading awareness, just letting people know that these funding cuts are happening because with the government shutdown, with everything happening in the world right now,
Hmm.
it's very easy for this to just kind of get buried under the rest of the news. But it's like we need funding into BOFA. We need emergency funding for shelters and victim services. And that is so critical right now. So let people know that this is an issue and that all these shelters are going through this. The next thing is if you are able to volunteer or donate to your local shelter, please do call them, see what they need, how can you get
Hmm.
involved, what are they most in need of at this time, whether that is volunteer hours, because that might be a lot of people turning to that. Or if they need monetary donations, food donations, clothes, what can you do in your
Hmm.
area? Because this is going to be statewide, if not nationwide. People need to get involved in what's closest to them. And the third thing I tell people is to please, 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 please call your elected officials. Congress, at the federal level, your state legislators, call the governor's office. It's like people need to know that we need this funding, or
Hmm.
it's going to be a matter of lives lost across the state. And we've got an advocate here who has been calling all of our elected officials, all of them in the state. She's called the governor's office, and we've got a lot of people just kind of passing the buck right now. The governor will say, "Oh, well, that's a federal issue," but then you call
Mm.
the like Tom Cotton and John Bozeman, and they're like, "Oh, well, you just need to call the governor. Sarah Huckabee Sanders has such a heart for this. We know that she'll help you. And it's like, but she's not, guys. So
Hmm.
be annoying. Call people.
Okay. So I think what I heard was, of course, call government officials and make your voice heard to do
Yes.
those things, right? Call your local shelter
Yes.
and see how specifically that shelter can use your help.
Mhm.
Um,
Because there's only a handful that got funding. So
yeah. Do you know
they're
where
all
those shelters are?
the only ones that I know for sure are Little Rock and Texarkana.
Oh,
I've
wow.
heard from those two that they got funded, but the rest of them, I'm not sure. And I mean, realistically, even though they got funding, the max that they could ask for is $250,000.
Mm,
So if a lot of shelters shut down and are having to reduce services, which they are going to have to, that means a lot of people will be going to the people that did get funding and are able to stay open. And it's like they still will not have the resources to help everyone with the little amount of money that they were still able to get.
yeah.
So everyone, whether they got funding or not, is going to need help and assistance.
Yeah. And I can just imagine it growing, like you said, these shelters being bombarded and saying,
Mhm.
okay, what do we do now? Um, I want to talk about the actual, I guess, domestic violence kind of more in a broader sense. And I'm sure we'll tie all of this back and forth as we're talking. Um, but oftentimes I hear a lot of misconceptions when it comes to domestic violence. So, as someone who works very closely in this area, tell us what are some of those misconceptions and what's the truth or what's the reality?
I mean, there, like you said, there's just so many, and it's like on our social media, I talk about a lot of them all the time. But some of the biggest ones I hear are people think that domestic violence is just physical abuse, but it
Hmm.
is so much more than that. You've got verbal abuse, you've got mental abuse. Did I say? I might have said that. Mental abuse, emotional abuse, uh, digital abuse, people going and like stalking you through like your home devices or putting a GPS on your car that you don't know about or
Mm,
tracking your phone. We've got financial abuse where someone might either steal your money or let you not have access to your money or put you in a situation where they're like, oh, I'll take care of you. So then you're financially dependent on them and you don't have access to resources. We have things like obviously sexual abuse, but sexual coercion and people not understanding how consent works and manipulating people around that. And reproductive coercion is a really big thing that a lot of
mm,
people have never heard of. So there is definitely more than just like physical abuse. And kind of adjacent to that misconception is that a lot of people don't realize even if you have not been physically abused, you can still qualify for services and assistance.
mm,
So a lot of people feel like they can't call a shelter or feel like they can't call and get like legal help or anything because they weren't hit.
physically
And it's
abused.
like,
Yeah.
no, you can. You do not deserve to be in that situation. You deserve to be somewhere safe.
Yeah. What would you say? And this is one that you hear a lot, and people will say, well, why don't they just leave?
Oh,
Like, if you've been hit, if you've been yelled at, or someone's mistreating you, all of these things, why don't you just leave? And I know you know that it's not as simple as, okay, let's just go. Can you kind of speak to that as to maybe what you see as to why don't they just leave and how we as a broader society can kind of be more supportive in that?
there are a lot of reasons why someone may not be ready to leave, and there's so much to consider too. It's like such a big thing because leaving, for people who aren't aware, is the most dangerous time in a domestic violence relationship
Mhm.
because domestic violence at its core is all about one person having power and control over the other. So when an abuser feels that they are losing control over their victim, they are going to do everything in their power to maintain control over them. So if you leave, it's like the abuse is going to escalate. There will be stalking. I mean, it is the deadliest time in abusive relationships. You hear so many horror stories about people who you may not even be aware that it was like a DD situation, but you'll see in the newspaper this person and their family were killed by their husband after
Mhm.
they served him with divorce. And it's like, oh, there was a lot more going on there that
Right.
people were not aware of.
Yeah.
So not only is it incredibly dangerous, but it's like you've got situations where there may be children involved and maybe you don't have access to a safe shelter. Maybe that's not an accessible thing that you're able to get to. Maybe you don't have a car. Maybe you don't have the funds to get a taxi or a ride, or you
Right.
have been isolated by your abuser from your family and friends. You don't have anyone who can give you a ride, so you literally have no way to get there. If you were to even qualify and be able to get to a shelter, you could have situations where you don't. Oh, where do you even go? There's so much happening in my brain right now, because it's like there's so many reasons. You could be dealing with immigration issues. You could be someone who is an immigrant here.
Yeah.
You may or may not be documented, and especially in our current political climate, even if you are documented,
That's
it's like
true.
that can lead to so many issues, or at least your abuser can convince you that it'll lead to so many
Hmm.
issues, so you'll be scared to move at all. Uh, you could be dealing with a pregnancy and you're on your abuser's medical insurance and you don't
Hmm.
realize that you can get medical insurance on your own. That, at least in Arkansas, if you are pregnant, you do qualify for Medicaid. So you could have that resource available to you,
Yeah.
but your abuser may not let you know that. You may be
Yeah.
like, oh, well, I can't leave because I have this baby I need to take care of. I need to make sure I'm going to my doctor's appointments.
I think what I tell people, one of the things that I tell people is what people don't understand is some often how intentional it is
Yeah.
on the part of the abuser.
Yes.
And you've heard of it, but there's a thing called the power and control wheel, which kind of breaks down um, these steps that are done to lower the woman's confidence, to isolate her intentionally, to make her feel certain things, so that internally you put so much weight there that it feels almost impossible just to go. Now, from the outside looking in, we may be able to see these things differently, but that person, because they were intentionally put into this space, it's a huge it's heavy, right, for
Yeah.
them to just leave. And emotionally, they may not have the capacity at that time
And
to be able to see things
abusers
differently. Go ahead.
place so much blame on the victim
Hmm.
and make
Hmm.
it feel like all of it is their fault. So
Yeah.
it may not even be a situation where they're aware, it's like they may realize the behavior is wrong, but may not realize it is their abuser controlling them.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, if I'm better, if I do more, if I change, everything will be better and be
Right.
back to how it was. Because if you look at a lot of abusive relationships, it's like abusers are not abusive to every person they know.
Right.
Abusers are not abusive from the jump. It's like they are not acting that way from the very beginning. You hear a lot of stories about
Hmm.
abusers who are the perfect partner. And it's like, wow, I finally found my fairy tale. Everything is perfect. It's amazing. And then years into it, or once you're married, or once you have kids, it's like a flip switch.
Right.
Is that right? Yeah. A flip, a
Yeah.
switch flips. Frank can't talk.
Well, I was hearing what you were saying. So I think you're absolutely spot on. It's just so, again, intentional
Yeah.
from the side of the abuser oftentimes that people don't recognize. Now I want to talk about something that another thing that I see often is there are the people who say I'm going to leave, and they do, and their friends and their family have rallied around them to get them to a safe place, and then they'll return back to the abuser. I'm not necessarily asking about that part. I'm asking about the friends and family who then feel almost betrayed,
Mhm.
right? Because we risked our lives possibly, or we pulled our money together, we did these things.
Yeah.
What do you say to the friends and family, and how can they stay supportive
Mhm.
without getting angry and saying, oh, she's just going to go, and kind of throwing their hands up, but also not putting themselves in a situation where they may be putting themselves in danger. I don't know if that question makes sense, but
Yeah, I think it does. And we hear that a lot from people who call our hotline looking for help for people that they know. It is very emotionally taxing to, I mean, even if you're not the person experiencing it, to know someone is going through that and want to help them. And a lot of people, because I'm the same way, it's like I want to fix a situation. And a lot of people are like that. They want to fix it for them. They want them to be safe. They want them to be out of that situation. But I think it's key for people to remember that, like I said, DV relationships all are about power and control. So this person that you are friends with, family with, they do not have the ability to make any decisions about their life. It's like their abuser is controlling every aspect of their life. So it is very difficult to leave just emotionally and to have the self-confidence to go and to be able to make those decisions for themselves and to learn to make those decisions for themselves again because their abuser was controlling everything. So I understand being frustrated, and I certainly would not suggest that anyone go out there and put themselves in danger to try to get someone out of it. Like, don't go fighting your abuser, don't go doing anything like that. Take care of yourself, put boundaries in place that are right for you. But please, 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 please continue to support that person. And whether you would make that choice for yourself or not, support them. Let them know that you are still there for them, that they still have your support, they still have access to resources because their abuser is telling them that, oh, well, they're done with you. Oh, you don't have any, you burned that bridge. They're gone. So now you're stuck here. So even if it is hard for you, and again, don't put yourself in danger, but even whether it's monetarily or just emotionally or a phone call, a check-in, stay there for people because they need that support. I don't know if any of that makes sense.
No, it did. And what I heard was remain supportive, keep your own boundaries, but don't just say I'm done because that can be actually pushing them in further danger in some ways. But again, be supportive, but also have those boundaries for yourself. And that's
Do
pretty
whatever
much
it
what I
takes
say,
for you.
like what you take care of you, but also recognizing that you can't make that decision for someone else. And I think that's the frustrating part for so many people. They want to go in and rescue and save, and that
From the
isn't
outside
something.
looking in, a lot of us can be like, oh, well, this is what you should do. That's so obvious. But if you're in that relationship and in that situation, they get your brain so turned around. Like if you have not experienced gaslighting, if you've not experienced mental and emotional abuse, it's like you do not understand the Swiss cheese that your brain becomes.
Yeah.
It turns you all backwards and forwards, upside down. So you've got to just give people time to catch up to where you're at.
All right. Now, speaking of all of this, goes into kind of my next question. In your experience, how does domestic violence impact survivors' mental health?
Ooh.
And I know we could literally spend all day on this one question. But yeah, just kind of give us some insight.
Domestic violence, kind of like I was talking about, it's like it really messes with your brain because you've got this abuser who, like you said, is very intentionally doing these things to break down your self-esteem, to twist your reality. If you've got gaslighting involved, it's like you don't even trust your sanity, you don't trust your reality anymore without your abuser telling you what is real. You could be dealing with the physical abuse, you could be dealing with sexual abuse, you could be dealing with the ramifications of all of that, both physically and emotionally. So something that a lot of people may not realize is you see in a lot of domestic violence relationships that once they leave that situation, you will see a lot of the symptoms of PTSD, whether that's like an official diagnosis or not. There is a significant amount of trauma involved in domestic violence because if you think about a traumatic event, like if you were hit by a car, it's like that can be really scary. You may be really scared about like crossing the street or getting in a car,
Right, right.
whatever was involved in that. But it's like you are experiencing that trauma from the person who says they love you most in the world. And it is day in, day out, all the time, constant. So it's like that can really have an effect on people even after they've left, trying to unpack all that and know that they are mentally and physically and emotionally safe.
Yeah. So I do think that that's huge, that part of, but I see it, I mean, in my practice, if when there are people who've had that history, they could literally be years removed from a particular relationship and the confidence is still very low or questioning their ability or their decision making. Um, just not being able to trust
Yeah.
and feeling like, anybody could change on you at the drop of the dime, like you talked about earlier, where he was great at the beginning or something like that. And so there's so many things, and I think we do as a society have to be mindful of that impact and not just to throw people away and be so quick to judge and to say, hey, I understand that was a huge trauma for you, and we're going to help you work through that. Um, what do you say are some of like the biggest obstacles that survivors face in leaving abusive relationships besides um, the physical danger? Like, let's say they are out safely. What are some of those other obstacles that you're seeing?
Ooh, so many. Something that I talk about all the time is that domestic violence, if you really kind of break things down and look big picture, is a systemic problem in the same way that you see like racism is, or homophobia, or all these things are kind of built to keep people down. It's like domestic violence is systemic. It's like you
Mm,
have issues in the criminal justice system where a lot of people are not able to get the justice they deserve. You see issues in housing and access to safe housing, and not only from like a shelter standpoint, but in affordable housing. It's like
mhm.
if you have children, then I referenced a study recently where it was talking about how if you are a single parent and you have a minimum wage job anywhere in the country, a full-time minimum wage job, you literally cannot afford a one-bedroom apartment.
Wow. Wow.
It's their financial barrier for so many people is so intense. And so access to affordable housing is a really big thing. Access to medical care, especially with all the cuts that are going to be coming through, being able
Mhm.
to afford groceries, being able to afford like medical care and mental health care. Because, like we said, it has such an impact on your mental health, and it can really
Yes.
like stall people out, and they just like freeze and don't know what to do, and that can really have an effect on their life and their ability to move forward. Uh, Being able to find childcare. It's like I'm sure you've heard here in Arkansas, it's like they are cutting childcare vouchers.
Yes.
So a lot of people will not be able to get childcare moving forward. So everything plays into it.
Yeah. What can people do? Like, again, churches, community organizations, friends and family, what can we do to kind of help the survivor to break that cycle off of their life or to break free from that abusive cycle?
I mean, a lot of things, as with everything. But I think some of the main things are to, whether you specifically know someone in your life who is experiencing this or not, learn about domestic violence. Learn what the signs are, learn how it affects people, learn about the resources in your area, know what is there. So if you do have someone who feels safe enough with you to tell them that
Mhm.
they are experiencing this, you know how to help them. And even if you like knowing the warning signs and everything, if someone isn't necessarily forthcoming with that information, if you recognize it and you can say, hey, I don't like the way that your partner is talking to you. I don't like that they make you the butt of all their jokes. I don't like that they are grabbing you and like putting their hand in your pocket when you've told them you don't like that. I
Hmm.
don't like how they're pressing those boundaries with you. Are you safe? Are you okay? It's like it takes a lot of education on your side to
Right,
realize what is a healthy relationship. What are these signs to look
right.
out for? That way you can look out for the people around you.
Okay. No, I think that's great. And you said something, so I want to go back to you
Yeah.
said know the signs.
Yes.
Can you, and I know there's a lot of different signs, but can you give maybe some pretty common signs that our viewers could say, okay, I can look out for that? I remember watching a play, and because of my experience as a counselor, I'm watching the play, and this person starts showing all this. I said, oh, they're suicidal. And this was like two scenes
Yeah.
before they were actually,
Mhm.
about to do whatever.
Yeah.
And the person, I said, how did you know that? And I was like, well, it was right there. Like they
The
were
signs were
literally,
there. The writing was on
it
the
was like
wall.
right there. But of course,
Uh-huh.
I had a different
Yeah.
set of training, right? And so, what are some of those common things that people could look for
Mhm.
and begin to say, oh, I actually have become more aware, so I could recognize those things.
Yeah. I I mean the hard part with a lot of it is that abuse is mainly like in the home. Abusers are not
Oh
abusing
yeah.
every person they know. They may look like a perfect couple from the outside until they get home and then it's like, oh my gosh, all this is happening. But a few things that you might be able to notice are if they've got unexplained bruises, if they are in and out of the doctor a lot,
Hmm.
if you realize that someone you know is kind of drawing back from their family and friends
Hmm.
without like a specific reason. If you find that they are changing something about their personality in a really significant way after they kind of get into a new relationship. Like, let's say you've got someone who dresses really modestly, and then suddenly they're in this new relationship, and like a year in, they start dressing more, I mean, not provocatively, but in a really different way than how they were
Hmm.
before. Or if they, vice versa, if they
Right.
dress a certain way and then suddenly it's much more modest or something like that. It could be their abuser kind of controlling what they're wearing.
Hmm.
If you hear from your friend that it's like you ask them to go out for lunch or dinner or something, and they're like, oh, well, I need to check with my partner. And not in a like, oh, I need to like make sure someone can watch the kids or something like that. It's like, no, I need to always check in with my partner. I need to get
Hmm.
permission from them to go do whatever I'm gonna do.
Yeah.
If you see something like, ooh, what's another good one? I had one on the tip of my tongue and then I lost it. You know someone who is like involved in a lot of activities or something, like especially for like teen dating violence, because this
Yeah.
can happen to anyone at any age. If you have a friend who's like really into like sports and then suddenly they're in this relationship and it's like, oh, I'm dropping out of the team, or my grades are suddenly dropping, or whatever, like that can be a warning sign that something's going on with your
Yeah.
partner.
So again, I think these are all really, really good things to know. I
Yeah.
think the scary, I guess you say scary part would be so many people actively try to cover those things,
Mhm.
right? Oh, well, I'm not doing that because we're so happy and we're so
Yeah.
busy or we're
Well,
so,
I just
uh,
want to spend time with my partner or
mhm,
whatever. It's like, okay, that may be true now, but this can escalate and become something really concerning later.
right.
That control that they're exercising over you, these boundaries they're pushing, are concerning.
Yeah. So I would tell all the viewers at this point, it's paying attention to these things because, yeah, it may be that they just want to spend more time, but just keeping your eyes open. And that doesn't mean everyone who has a little shift in behavior is changing. But when you start to see some
But like
dramatic things that are
dramatic behavior
concerning for
changes.
you,
Yeah.
definitely pay attention. And I think the thing is, I'd rather ask a friend if they're safe, if they're okay, and they are totally fine, than to not ask and not open that door.
Mhm.
Um, hey, are you good? Are you safe? How are you feeling? How are things really going? As opposed to just saying, just brushing it off, right? So we do want to make sure that we're keeping that kind of at the forefront of our minds. Working in this environment
Mhm.
with such heavy topics, how do you, and given the fact that your center is uh, downsizing and you're not going to be employed, how are
Mhm.
you doing and how are you handling your own mental health?
Mhm. I mean, things are rough right now. I'm gonna be honest.
Yeah.
There's a lot going on, a lot of uncertainty, a lot of change, which your little Capricorn moon girl, I don't know if you're into astrology, is not a big fan of. But I'm doing okay given the cards that we've been dealt. And like you said, working in this job is very emotionally intense. So something we have been preaching as a staff for a long time is really make sure you are focusing on self-care. Make sure that you are taking care of yourself so you do not burn out because this job is important and we want to be able to
Yeah.
do it as long as possible. So some ways that I take care of my mental health are I really love to work out. I love doing like dance classes and going on a walk, getting outside, seeing the sun, touching grass. I really prioritize like fun activities to like keep myself entertained. So it's like I am a fangirl. I love my fun things. So it's like I love like the ACOTAR series, the fun books. I love Taylor Swift. I love K-pop. It's like my fun little things that give me joy. I seek out all the time because it's like the world is hard, but there are still nice things.
There's Taylor Swift.
Yes.
So I'm really glad that you do have that outlet.
Mhm.
When you were looking at colleagues, do you see that everyone, well, not everyone, but
Mhm.
for the most part in your profession, did it seem like, okay, we're all pretty balanced, or were there, was it a lot of, okay, this person's not taking care of themselves?
Mhm. I mean, I think our staff, because our group that we've had here, we've had working for a long time.
Hmm.
So it's like we have all really made that point to, okay, we need to take care of ourselves. That way we
Yeah.
can keep doing this and keep working together. But you definitely see it a lot. If there's like a new person coming on or an intern,
Mm,
it's like they get real overwhelmed real fast. And it's like, listen, I get it. I know. Take care of yourselves. Or
yeah.
I've talked to other advocates at other shelters who aren't as well versed in the self care yet, and it's like, babe, you gotta do some work here.
Yeah.
So we definitely do see it. Luckily, our staff has really learned to have those conversations and take care of ourselves, but it is a lot. It's a big job,
Hmm.
and I will be sad to be leaving it, but I will enjoy potentially going to a job where there is less day to day trauma.
Oh, I bet. I bet. And the thing is, you can still
Thing.
provide awareness and information.
Mhm.
Thankfully, the world we live in allows us to literally just pop on and people
Mhm.
watch us. Um, but it is an opportunity for you to continue to share, but also maybe not have
Mhm.
um,
So
that
much
day to
first
day
and
stuff.
second hand trauma.
Yeah, absolutely right. So tell me what brought you into this field, like. Because some people are like, oh, I would never want to do that every day. And other people are like, I wake up and I feel so much purpose. What kind of got you into that?
I mean, I have a unique journey to get here. I started out my career in education. I was a choir director,
Oh,
and
wow.
I left education and I was like, well, I know I don't want to be a teacher anymore, but I don't know what I want to do. And my friend was the manager over here. And she's like, hey, we've got a spot open. I think you'd be really good at this. And it's like, what are you talking about? We had completely different college majors. It's like, I don't know anything about this. She's like, just come
Mm,
do it. You'll be fine. And it's like I got here and it was really scary. It was a lot to kind of take in all at once, but it's like the more I learned about it and like working with people, it really became a passion that I want to make a difference and I want to help our community because it's such a big issue that a lot of people do not talk about. So it's like I see
yeah.
day in and day out how needed these services are and how much it affects people, and especially learning more about domestic violence. And because it's like we were talking about the misconceptions earlier. I was one of the people who was like, oh, well, it's just hitting people. And it's like, no, there is so much more. So it's like
Right.
looking back on my life and learning all those things. It's like there were things from my childhood that I'm like, that's what was going on. What are you talking
Mm.
about? It's like there is so much for people to learn. And so I really got passionate about this job, not only from helping people directly in shelter, but from having the opportunity to kind of get on social media and create all this educational content to help spread awareness and help potentially save lives. It's like we get messages on our socials all the time that, oh, seeing your videos helped me get out of this situation.
Wow. That's awesome. So I do hope that you guys take a moment to not only read that, but to just reflect on the people that you had the opportunity to work with, and not to feel that your time has been in vain, or your time has been, wasted, because politically tides change, right? And hopefully very soon tides will change. And there may be funding and all of those types of things, and we want people to just be be aware of not only what's happening, but again, how we can help, and how we may be even furthering misconceptions, or how we may be um, hurting others in a way that we're not even aware of, but that awareness begins to bring some insight. Um, I want to ask the people that are watching, do you guys have any questions for Tori? You can feel free to put those in the comments, any comments or questions. Um, that would be wonderful. You talked about being a teacher, and coming over to this. So now, how has working at the shelter, being a domestic violence advocate, change the way you move throughout the world, and how you see things?
I mean, I see domestic violence information everywhere. Kind of like how you were talking about with the play, where it's like, oh, you see that before it even
Hmm.
happens. It's like I can see the signs everywhere. It's
Yeah.
like I'm reading a book. It's like, oh, they aren't practicing consent, or watching a TV show. It's like any Real Housewives series. It's like, oh, the Secret Lives of Mormon Wives. Have you seen that show?
I have not.
Oh, let me tell you, the domestic violence red flags are all over the place, and it's like, you guys need help.
And what is it called?
Secret Lives of Mormon Wives. It's on,
Oh,
and it's a real trip. It's like I just stopped watching it at home because I'm like, this is too much. I was like, I should be getting paid to watch this.
Secret Lives of Mormon Wives.
Mm-hmm.
That's a mouthful just to say, but yeah. And I think just walking through the day, sometimes you're seeing things probably from a different lens.
Yes.
Um,
It's
and
like seeing
so,
how people interact out in public. I'm like, oh, that's concerning. Let me make sure that they get this information.
yeah. Now, do you have any, I guess, any way to follow up with people once they leave the shelter, like to go, hey, I wonder if they're still doing okay, if they're, or is there like a cutoff? I know with us, we don't get to just go, I want to check in with that client that I saw 5 years ago. So like, do you guys have guidelines like that, or are you able to kind of follow up?
I mean, just since it is domestic violence, we have a policy where we do not reach out to people unless it is like absolutely necessary, because in the average situation, people will return to their abuser 7 to 8 times.
Hmm.
So it's like we give people all these tools. We hope that they are going out and getting independent and on their own, but it's like you don't know if they went back to that relationship
Right.
in 3 months, 6 months. So it may not be safe for us to reach back out for them. It
That's
might
true.
be putting them in danger if we were to call them up. But I mean, luckily Russellville is a small town, so a lot of the people that we see come through the shelter, it's like you run into in Walmart, you run into
Okay.
at a ball game. It's like you see people, so you can kind of, if they're comfortable, check in with them and be like, hey, how are you doing? What's going on? It's like we love to hear that people
Yeah.
are still safe and good and doing well.
One of the questions in the comments just said, are there any plans going forward for Arkansas to deal with the number of victims and the vast amount of domestic violence shelters closing in the state? Has the governor or any staff indicated their plan? Domestic violence isn't going to stop just because the closing of the shelters.
Yeah, that is correct. Um, we have not heard anything from legislators as far as legislation. Our local state representative came by the shelter the other day and gave our director a list of different grants that he was aware of.
Okay.
So it's like we are applying for those. Hopefully those will help. But as far as like broad legislation, we have not seen anything like that. So that's why we are talking to anyone who will listen, being like, please call them.
Yes. And Sheila, I don't know if you missed it earlier. Tori was actually sharing, call your representatives, your senators, your people in your state, the governor's office, even if you need to get your voice in their ear. Bugging them is probably not even the right word. Just
I love the
advocating.
Grease.
Yeah.
Grease.
Advocating
Like,
for what we know is the truth. And then also she was saying, reaching out to the actual direct shelters to see how they can help, because a lot of the shelters, Tori actually corrected me, some are actually closing, some are just having to let go of the majority or a large portion of their staff. So some of them are staying open, but they're going to still have a lot of needs. And so you can call directly to the shelter to see how you can help, and also call or advocate through your senator. We know, several people in our government that we can reach out to. So I wish I had thought about it. I would have had a list of people, but you can probably find your representative in your district, and just reaching out and being as vocal as we can be, because these things really do need attention. They need help, and of course, no one's going to listen if no one's talking.
one thing that I don't think I've mentioned yet on here is that Arkansas is one of the few states in the country that does not have state-funded victim services, like funding. So it's like all victim service providers, whether that is PD shelters, CASAs, rape crisis centers, child advocacy centers, prosecutors' offices, victim coordinators. It's like we all depend on federal funding because there is not any at the state level.
Wow.
So it's like, yes, call our federal people. It's like they need to get VOCA in line. We need emergency funding there. But it's like we need this at a state level as well, because if we had that, maybe we wouldn't be in this like crisis situation.
Okay. So again, reaching out to the local state officials, because this has to be a priority. And the truth of the matter is, not to get super political, but the truth of the matter is, we can keep saying, let the states handle it. But if states don't have the funding to handle it, it can't be handled. And we have to make these things a priority.
And like the state funding, it's like there was a bill for that recently, and the governor killed it. She said that she had a plan, and she shut that down before they voted on it. And it's like, where is the plan?
And so maybe we need to call our governor and see,
Yes.
where's the plan, what is the plan, because to say I have a plan
And then
is
not
one
follow
thing,
through.
but not to explain or implement or discuss what that plan is. It doesn't help the people that are experiencing these troubling times. And so we definitely want to be vocal and active, as with what can we do. And Sheila, I know you. That's the thing. We know people that have been in these situations. We know the struggles that they can face, and so we want to make it as easy to get away from abusive situations as possible. It's already difficult, but yeah. So, any other questions from our comments, or even Tori? Any other comments or questions that you may have for us?
I mean, we'll wait to see if there's any other comments. I don't see the comments, so if you see any, you'll have to tell me where they're
Yeah,
at.
I'll just read them off.
Okay. But I will just say thank you so much for having me on and allowing me to be able to talk about this, because it like I said, is so important. And it's like, we need funding. It's like, whether I get to keep my job and stay here or not, it's like, if tomorrow is my last day, so be it. But these services need to be available for people. These are life-saving services. And if there is a reduction in, even if they don't all close, in the number of beds they have available or what services they can offer, it's like, that is going to lead to a loss of life. It is not a matter of if there will be, it is a matter of how many people are we willing to sacrifice for no reason.
Yeah. And that is a sad statistic. That is a sad moment that we're even facing, right? And so we understand the mental health part of people returning back and all of that, but not having somewhere for them to go because of the lack of funding is something that actually we can do something about, right? We can't make someone leave.
Fixable issue.
We can't make someone leave, right? And so I think just looking at, and I tell my clients all the time, sometimes we focus so much on the things that are outside of our control that we don't actually look at what is within our control. Even your voting, that's in your control. How you vote, how you advocate, all of that part is within your control, and how you stand in these moments. Again, if you're going to call your senator or your representatives, if you're going to write that email, if you're going to call the shelter, all of these things are things that are within our power. And I think you've provided, again, some really great insight. And so I don't see any more questions here. Let me know if anybody else has anything. We're going to give y'all a few more minutes because it's usually a little delayed on social media. But again, thank you so much, Tori, especially just responding to a random stranger who says, I saw your video. Can I interview you? And so again, I appreciate you. I do hope and pray for the best for you, your other staff members who are losing a job. But I do hope and pray that positive things happen for you guys, and of course the shelters as well, because that is a huge impact. If you guys know, I'm here every Thursday with a new episode of Minding My Mental Health. You can watch it on Facebook or YouTube. If you have not subscribed to YouTube, I'm asking that you would go over and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Go on over there, like, subscribe, do all of those things. And next week, I'm actually going to continue to talk about domestic violence, and I'm going to talk more about that power and control wheel and kind of the psychology behind some of that, so that we can, again, get a little more insight. I think Tori did an amazing job. Everybody give it up, give hearts, give fire for Tori. Thank you so much. God bless you on your journey. And I will continue to follow you on social media. Thank you.
Thank you.
If you'll hold for just a minute, because it's going to play the little intro song at the end, and then I'll speak to you in the back.
Breaking misconceptions, fallacies, enigmas, building up the people, tearing down stigmas, clothed with a purpose. When life tries to wear on me, pray and read the word, but I still go to therapy. No matter your past or what you've been through, this is a space, not judgmental. We got some things to get into. I got my mind in on my meds. No matter your past or what you've been through, this is a space, not judgmental. We got some things to get into. I got my mind in on my mental. Mind in my mental. Mind in my mental. Mind in my mental health. Mind in my mental. Mind in my mental. Mind in my mental.